Hello and welcome. Greens across the board. We are recording the Chris and Veronica show, chrisandveronica.com. Hello, my name is Chris and this is...
Hi, my name's Veronica.
Hi, Veronica. It's good
Hi,
to see you
Chris.
again.
I know it's good to see you too, because we hardly ever see each other.
I know. Where have you been my whole life?
I ask myself the same thing.
You've probably been doing self-care. See what I did for the transition there?
I did. Look at you.
Right?
You're not just a pretty face.
You're welcome. Yeah. Guess what we're talking about today?
Let me guess. Self-care?
Self-care, mental health, mindset, all of these things. So,
Ooh.
yeah, if you
My favorite
are
topics.
listening to us online, chances are you're listening to audio. If you are in other places, you're on YouTube watching us on video or wherever things are welcome. We're located. I don't know what that means. Anyway, mindset, mental health, and self-care. How do you feel about it? What are your overall thoughts?
It's much needed. It's definitely needed. Invest in yourself. I didn't realize I needed self-care until I started taking care of myself. I'm like, ooh, I like this.
Right? Mani-pedi, a little massage, a little bit of like time in a bathtub, a little bit of
what
like
does
hot
self-care
tub
look-
time,
you
right? Yeah.
see?
What are all these things?
I don't like taking
self-care.
baths.
You don't like baths?
I shower, get in, get out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Mm-mm.
Terrible idea, baths. Nobody does
I
them.
don't.
Shouldn't.
Do you like baths?
I don't know. Pocket does. I don't. My spouse does. I do not.
Oh.
Particularly, I'm 6'6". I don't fit in bathtubs. I don't care how big they're. A hot tub for me is a bathtub. Like that is what that looks like.
That is so true. I wonder how the basketball players do. They must have custom built bathtubs.
Right? I've watched some of these people. Like, okay, so I'm the same height as Michael Jordan. You're welcome, 6'6". And don't ask me how I know that, but you grow up being 6'6", and you know how tall people are. Anyway, he has like custom cars and airplane things and all these other things that he like creates so that he can fit inside of them, right? Shaq does the same thing where it's
I
like,
can see that.
I'm just going to make this thing and have them custom make it to me. So Veronica, when we get to the point that we've got so much money, it doesn't matter. That's what we're doing. You're going to do that.
Yes.
Big
And
tub.
for someone that isn't a 6'6", but 5'4" and 3/4, yes, shelves that I can just do like this and it's right there.
Yeah. It's a whole, we'll get you a step stool. It's fine. Self-care by step stool.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. I feel like some people feel guilty about doing nice things for themselves.
That is a thing. Do you know that?
Right. I'm literally holding a latte in my hand right now. If you can see it like on the thing, I'm literally holding a latte in my hand because self-care is important. Right. But like, do I feel guilty about it? Not so much. There are some people that do though.
They do. Or it's the thing. We held a community care event and it's the guilt of, I should be appreciative because there's someone that's worse off than me, especially with what we do in the in the community, and that is a thing. Guilt. Yes, very much guilty of doing that as well.
Right. Yeah. The idea that like, oh, my time could be spent doing this thing that would be so much more valuable. Right. This person is in hospice care. I need to be with them 24/7. Right. I'm not going to take time off to be able to like go and take care of myself, have food, have water, all of these things, right? And your body can do that for a little bit in that response period. But then overall, your health tends to decline, your mental health tends to decline, so physical and mental health both. So the more that you can take care of yourself, your physical body, the things that you eat, right? The sleep that you get, how you are clearing out your mind for different things, I feel the better, right? Because I'm able to do those things, right? And if we can get to that point, I think it's really beneficial for people to understand that that can be self-care as well. Saying that I'm going for a 10-minute walk every day. Maybe it's a 5-minute walk. Maybe it's a 30-minute walk. Maybe you're going on a hike. Whatever it is, you're moving your body, right? That could be one thing. It could be I'm not eating out for greasy and fatty foods and things like that. I'm making something at home, and maybe it's once a week that I'm having like fruit with this meal because I don't typically have fruit that's available around the house. Like, what is that self-care thing that you're doing to be able to support your body health, right? And then the like mental health side of things, thinking about, oh my gosh, how am I feeling about this thing? Let me process it. Come to the point of understanding what that is, and then really taking care of my mental health, right? So what is that like self-care regimen? What does that look like for you? What do you do?
So I had a very traumatic event in July of this year, and I have been in therapy. I make sure I talk to someone to process my thoughts and to give me a different idea, different perspective. So I'm very much a, hey, I know what I need, my triggers, all that. July, I had a dramatic event. My son was in the hospital for 30 days.
Yes, yes, yes. I
I
remember that.
didn't realize how stressed I was until he was released. And then I felt like my body broke down. And the doctor said, Veronica, you were in survivor mode. I had backaches. I couldn't get out of bed. I was depressed. So then I sought going to the gym. I looked up Hot Works. I had been invited by Sierra, one of our veterans, and she said, "Hey, Veronica, you want a raffle for a free 30 days?" I said, "That's great." I had forgotten about that, and I invested myself. I invested going to see Dr. Chris, not you.
Right, right.
You're
I
Dr.
feel
Chris of love.
I could be Dr. Chris, but I'm not. It's fine. Don't worry. I mean, he's just as cute as I am, so it's fine.
That's
Like,
very
we love
true.
him.
Very much. You guys have the Chris personality.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And it was just investing an hour for each person of my time. And I think for a lot of people, it's the time. Am I worth it? And I had to. I did not realize how impactful eating hospital food, being there 8 hours a day, right? Because I felt guilty. I felt guilty working. And then that guilt resonated because we had that huge event, Tacoma's first 9/11 Heroes Run.
Hmm.
And I remember forgetting, I'm like, oh my God, I have to push this out. And you actually were the second call. The first one was to Liz with Frontline. And oh, thank you. I've been waiting for this. She didn't know what had happened. And I read her email and something had me call her and I said, thank you so much. And I told her what happened. I just started crying. She's like, oh my God, and I said, I just feel like I failed my business because I should have had all these protocols in place, right? But anyways, long story short is investing in yourself and being vulnerable, being able to talk to those people and saying, hey, this is what I need. I know you said, Veronica, what can I help you with? Can you sponsor my coffees, please? I haven't had a chance to look for sponsors. I haven't been doing those things. So for me, I think if I had to give advice to anyone, it's what is heavy on your plate and who within your circle can help you.
Absolutely. Yeah, the idea of like opening up about things and telling people about them, right? A lot of times we like stop. We stop just before opening that door. We're like, you know what? I
Mhm.
could call so and so. Wait, no, I'm not going to. I don't want to put it on them, right? And or like I don't want to like take that and like put it on anybody. I want to be able to hold that
Or
myself.
the image of, I'm going to look weak or I'm going to look like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, the idea of like I want to be able to have conversations with people out and about. I want to be able to have a trusted circle of people that I can reach out to, and I want to be able to build that and grow that by getting to know people and understanding who they are and what they're able to do, like what we can do for each other and be able to support each other. So on that like self-care cycle of things, it's being open to those conversations with people that you're close to or building that community around you in order to have those conversations with people and getting to that next level of like, what's next, right? Like,
Hmm.
I feel like everybody is searching for connection in some way. And the
Yes.
more that we can connect, the better off we're going to be in the long run to be able to support people emotionally, physically, just mentally, like everything that goes along with it. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of like having those like even tough conversations with ourselves, like our internal voice,
Oh
right?
gosh, we have long conversations into
Yeah.
the wee hours.
Right. And I found like this is like a tip slash trick that I found for myself. And that is getting into the idea that my internal voice can be externally like put out there. Now with like Chat GPT and all these other things, like I can literally use voice to text on something and I can speak everything that's in my mind without processing it. Right. Take it from there and then put it into something like Chat GPT just for fun to be like, hey, Chat GPT, like, what would you do in this scenario? Right.
Oh, I never thought of
It's so
that.
great. Like, I started using that, like, I don't know, first part of last year. And it's been so wonderful just to be like, hey, I have all this stuff on my mind. I don't know where to be able to go with it. How would you prioritize this based on the things that are in my mind? And it's almost like ChatGPT is the thing inside it, like the voice inside of my head. If I share enough with it to be able to like give that knowledge back and forth, right? There's some things about like, do I trust this or all these other things? And whenever I've decided I really don't care because eventually AI is going to take over the world and I'm fine with it. But like, so for
You've made
me,
friends with it already.
yeah, I've made huge friends with it. You know, I would rather be able to have that conversation and have that available to myself just to be able to like know, oh, that's the thing. And then me saying it out loud, right? One of the reasons that I started a YouTube channel like years back was that I wanted to be able to put stuff from inside my mind outside by representing it on camera, on audio, on something so that somebody else is seeing it and being like, well, I feel that same way, you know?
That's interesting you say that. I started my TikToks for that reason, especially when my son was in the hospital, trying to process those things, right? And my health journey, I ended up losing about, well, I'm up to like 25 pounds now of loss, but
Woo! Celebration.
I know.
Right? Isn't that great?
And one of my friends, she started her health journey because watching me, she says, you know, if you can do it and you made it look so simple and the things that you were talking about, that resonated with me. So I started doing it. And that's what I want. I want, other people to be able, like, yeah, I felt guilt for putting my son, he has a mental illness. He has a TBI as well. And I felt guilty.
And for people that are listening, TBI is traumatic brain injury.
Thank
But
you
yes,
for
keep
that.
going.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that. I keep forgetting. Not everybody knows the lingo. I felt guilty for that. And I shared that on TikTok. And there were so many people. There was about 10 different people giving me the perspective. One of them was putting their grandparents in a group home. Another one was talking about their mom, how they wish they would have done that ended their marriage, right? Because it's a strain, right? You're not insert that title anymore, then you become a caregiver. So self-care is also recognizing that you can't do it all. And that is so hard, especially for someone like me who's an only child that had to do it all by themselves, right?
Yeah. And there's certain communities that you can share that with, right? There's communities within your own like space that you can do that with. There's online communities that you can engage in and online communities that are specific to the thing that you're experiencing as well. And so it just simple searches through, you know, whichever platform you decide to go on, you can search there, whether it's like just even a search engine and be like, hey, this thing is happening, right? What does this look like for me? And are there other people out there that have this similar thing that I can be able to relate with? Because people in my geography that are here, that are in my network currently, I've talked to them, they don't know how to be able to respond to this thing. So what is a virtual community maybe I could join rather than an in-person community? And on that, like, self-care slash, and by the way, I don't know where I'm going with any of this because this is just us unscripted.
But this is what makes us unique though. So I have a question for you. What would somebody be able to reach out to you? If you had to give a TED talk, what would it be on concerning self-care? So if someone is listening and said, oh, I think I resonate with Chris, I wonder if they could help me with what are the topics that you feel someone can come to you?
I would say pretty much any, right? Like you can bring anything to me and I'm happy to like talk through that. So back in the day, this is a very long time ago, I used to be a registered counselor for the state of Washington.
Of course you
right?
were,
Oh
Chris.
my
What is
gosh.
there? What have you not been?
Right. And so in that sense, it's actually peer-led support groups that I was doing. And in that certification, this is probably almost like 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I was doing peer-led support groups. And so having the ability to be able to mediate conversations between groups of people, I am fairly good at that, right? I'm definitely not an expert, right? I always say like, I'm not an expert. There's other people that are way better than me at other, like a lot
Or
of these
have
things.
the alphabets behind their name?
Right. But if it's that like mediation side or trying to think through something or like, how is this thing going? Right. They can like bring that type of thing to me. Right. I also say like, I'm not usually the like happiest or nicest person around it either. I'll actually tell you the thing. Right. When we're talking to our friends, a lot of times we'll try to hold something back or try to let them know like, oh, it's okay. Right. I usually don't say that. I'm like, this is the point where this thing messed up. This is what it looks like to me. And I want to see, do you also see that same mess up point? Can I point that out for you right now? And are you going to be okay with me pointing it out to you? Because you've got to be ready for the real truth if we're going to talk about something.
Because that's what a real friend does, right? They say,
Correct.
I love you. I'm always going to support you. However, this is the path that you're on and you need to make a decision.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times that people say that, but, or that, however. I don't even start with that,
I
right?
know you don't.
Yeah, right. Because I found that anytime that you're trying to make somebody feel better in the beginning, it doesn't have the same impact as just saying
Interesting.
the thing,
Okay.
right? And that's where a lot of people, I always say like 50%, 50% of the room likes me and 50% of the room like hates me at any given time.
That's kind of the thought. I'm like, oh, this is why they feel like you're so cold hearted and very blunt. But at the end, it's the same thing. You are accomplishing the same thing.
Yeah, the idea of like, hey, this is that thing. Do you see that same thing? And a lot of times, like I did this with somebody maybe like 2 weeks ago and sat down, and it was a really like heavy and emotional conversation. But again, I will take an hour for anybody on anything. And this is something that came up in our conversations. And I literally let them know. I was like, I have actually journaled about this conversation 6 or 7 times over the last 5 months. This is how much I have thought about this, that we have not sat down and talked about it. And I want to see, are you seeing the same things as me? And when I tell you that I didn't necessarily, it's not necessarily like going for the jugular, but that's the best way to be able to describe it, where I'm saying like, we kind of know each other casually. We're sitting down for an hour. This is the conversation. And 30 minutes into it, like I am calling you out for these things that I'm seeing, right? That person was looking me up and down with almost a blank face of like, oh my gosh, they actually see me. What is happening? I was trying to hide this portion of myself. I didn't understand that other people could actually recognize this and like that kind of thing, where I can actually say, like, I see you. I see you and I see the things that you're going through. And it is so important for us to be able to talk about these openly, because when you are talking in this situation here, you are very happy and very excited. And once you make it to this, situation over here, you're kind of very sad about it, right? And
Mhm.
that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm pointing out the differences between those two. Back here, you were very loving, open, supportive, and wanting to be able to support other people and be like expanding your mindset and being in that like growth mindset. Whereas over here, it seems like something has held you down to a point that you don't know that you can get back up. And I want to tell you, you can get back up. This is how
Oh.
you can do it, right?
Mhm.
This is what I'm seeing. Do you see these two differences in yourself over the last 15 years that you can recognize? This is what it was before, and this is what it is now,
This is where you are now.
right?
Mhm.
And that person, like literally, I think for about like, it felt like hours, but it was obviously like minutes or seconds, looked at me up and down and was like, I do. I see that. And I've been trying to hide that thing.
It was kind of like this is the crossroads almost.
Yeah. And so it's, those types of conversations on that like mental health, that self-care, that like mindset, like where are you at in your mindset? Are you to a point that you're trying to hide trauma from the past that hasn't been healed? And so since you're in that level, where are you going to in your mindset
Hmm.
next? Where can I get you to do that thing? Which is why if I say for 50% of people that are in the room, they don't like me, it's because a lot of times I will have said, I see this thing. Do you see this thing as well? Can you fix this thing? Do you want me to help you fix this thing if you recognize it? And a lot of times, like it'll take them even 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months later, they come back and they're like, hey, that thing, yep, that was totally a thing. I've now worked through it all. And what's next? Right.
Hmm.
And I love that about that like mindset and that self care side of things, because a lot of times when we're in the self care cycle, we will want to um, wallow. We'll want to be in it. And that mindset stays with you,
Yes.
right? The ability to be able to come up and out of that takes other people and a community around you to say you can do it, but you also have to be able to do the work.
Accountability.
It can be accountability. That can be
Hmm.
one way that it shows
Yes.
up, but
Yes.
you have to be able to do that individual work, right?
And it can't be overnight, right? I tell
Correct.
people I can help you with having been a stay-at-home mom and then getting a divorce after 20 plus years, or having, a child with, disabilities, or being a military spouse, right? That's a whole nother story and a journey, right? All these different things. But I have to say, are you ready to continue? Because sometimes you're not, or you have to make the decision, hey, what's the common denominator? Your family? Because it's that crab mentality. If we're all going to be at the bottom, then You have to be at the bottom with us.
Yeah. So this brings up a kind of fun and interesting thing. We're almost at our like 20-minute mark, and my alarm did go off like 5 minutes ago. But this is a really fun story, so let's do it anyway. So maybe to like close this out, there was when I lived in Los Angeles, there was a lot that was going on.
West Side.
With Sweet. I lived in Hawthorne, which is right next to Compton. I had an amazing roommate there. And one of the things that we had was house rules. And the number one house rule that was on the list is if you're going to bring yourself down, you cannot bring anybody else down with you. You're welcome to do it on your own, but nobody will be there with you on your way down. And that was for us to say, you can make any decisions in your life that you would like, and you have total freedom to be able to do that. But there are consequences where you will likely be on your own because we want to be able to do things that are lifting ourselves up, lifting our friends up, lifting our friend groups up, and making sure that everybody is doing the things that they can to be able to support each other in the best way at that time that we knew how. Right? If I had the knowledge and skills that I have now to be able to like go back and do some of those things differently.
But you wouldn't be who you are now.
Right. Yeah. These experiences are all things that like tie into your life. Right. But the idea of like, if you're going to drag yourself down, don't drag down the rest of the world with you. I can be that person that says like, you're on your way down. I can point it out for you. It's your choice whether or not you're going to take steps to be able to remedy that. And it's on you to be able to make that difference in your own life to be able to get there. All I can do is point it out and say, this is a possibility for success for you. Let's get you to that success level so we can get you to that next level after it as well. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I love that because in my head, I was thinking, I always tell myself, okay, this is the point where either your villain story starts or this is the point of your survivor story. Which one is it going to be?
Yeah, I love that. Sweet. Any last thoughts, comments, or anything else on mindset, mental health, and self-care?
As usual, any questions, we are a safe space. Feel free to reach out to us. Chris and myself, we are here about supporting our community.
Absolutely. This is the Chris and Veronica show. I am Chris.
I am Veronica.
ChrisandVeronica.com is where we're at. Chris and Veronica show on all the socials and YouTubes and Instas and all those places. So feel free to find us there. Thanks so much for joining us.
Have a great one.
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew.